Hey everybody, I'm Roy Canning.
And I'm Joy Evans.
And today we're taking a look at the Deadpool and
X23
for Marvel Champions. I guess we're going to be breaking the fourth wall here a lot.
Yeah, we're actually talking to you guys out there, the readers.
But yeah, so we have two different characters here for Marvel Champions. We've been playing a lot of these Marvel Champions games together.
A lot.
And trying them out. So you can't even used to say at the beginning of a lot of these, like, I don't play a lot of Marvel Champions. You've been playing a lot of Marvel Champions.
Play a lot of Marvel Champions. Yeah, which is good. And these are very different.
Very different. Well, I will show you what is in these packs now. Let's get right to it. All right, X23. Of course, we're going to start over here on the Laura side. Laura has 6 recovery, which is pretty solid. Shink, which says setup, put X23's claws into play. And then as an action, you can shuffle either Honey Badger ally or Sisterly Bond event from your discard pile into your deck. And then if you do that, you get to draw a card, limit once per round. And then on the other side, of course, she has hand size of 6 and hit points of 10. And then X23 here is 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 defense, and then living weapon response. After X23 takes any amount of damage, ready X23 limit once per phase. So she's going to be able to pop back up whenever she takes damage, which is pretty solid. And then let's take a look at her claws here. So X23's claws, exhaust X23's claws, take 2 damage. X23 gets +2 attack until the end of round. So you can do cool things like thwart for 2, exhaust these to give her 2 damage and make her pop back up and get extra attack, and then attack. So she's all about taking a little bit of damage and being able to have a high recovery, and then also being able to bounce back up to be able to do multiple attacks and things like that. So let's see, what else does she have? Upgrade here, Grim Resolve. This is a resource, exhaust this card and take 1 damage, once again being able to trigger her unexhaustibility there. And generate a wild resource. So cool ways to get resource and unexhaust yourself if you need to. And then Pain Tolerance is a 2-cost upgrade. After you play an X23 card, including this one, heal 1 damage from your identity. So all these things that are damaging you, this helps you heal. But it costs 2, so it's a little bit expensive. And then Adamantium Lacing. This gives you +2 hit points. X23 gains Retaliate, and her basic attacks gain Piercing. So able to get through toughness there with the Piercing. 1-cost upgrade. A 0-cost upgrade. This is Puncture Wound. Attached to an enemy that X23 or Honey Badger attacked this turn. Attached enemy gets -1 attack, so making it so their attacks are worse. And then after the player phase begins, so basically the beginning of the next player phase, discard this card and deal 3 damage to the attached enemy. So this is really cool to be able to pay 0 to get make the -1 attack and get 3 damage. This card is actually really, really good. Then Honey Badger. This is a 2-cost ally. After Honey Badger takes any amount of damage, ready X23, which is pretty cool. I mean, she doesn't have much hit points, but even the consequential damage is going to help you ready X23, and of course being able to combo that with the extra attack you get with the claws and the unexhausting she normally does, being able to unexhaust X23 multiple times a turn, having her sister in play there. This is an awesome ally, being able to help you get those combos off. Then Sisterhood here is a 2-cost support. Exhaust Sisterhood and discard an X23 card from your hand. Search your deck or discard pile for Honey Badger and add her to your hand. Basically allowing you to spam Honey Badger even more, allowing you to trigger more unexhaust for X23, which is really cool. Then Claw Mastery, this is a 1-cost event. Max 1 per round. Until the end of the round, X23 gets +2 attack, and her attacks gain overkill while Honey Badger's in play. So this is really cool, boosting her attack up even more for those multiple unexhausts. And you actually have 3 of these, so you're going to be Claw Mastering a lot. Then Sisterly Bond, this is one of the cards you can actually get out of your discard pile with her alter ego ability there, other than Honey Badger. This is a 0-cost event. When Honey Badger thwarts or attacks, add X23's matching power to Honey Badger's power for this use. So that's awesome. And then Regenerative Longevity. Heal a total of 4 damage from your identity and Honey Badger, so allowing you to heal up there. And then Animal Instinct is a 0-cost event. When X23 makes a basic thwart, she gets X thwart where for this thwart where X is equal to her attack. So basically adding your attack to your thwart, which is huge, seeing that X23 is all about attacking and boosting that up. Then we're going here, X23 is a aggression deck, so we're going to go through some of the aggression cards here. We do have Richter, which he's a 3-cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 consequential damage, 2 attack, 2 consequential damage. We have an asterisk here. After he attacks, discard the top card of your deck, deal 1 damage to each minion engaged with you for each resource on the card discarded this way. So he can do a little bit of extra damage to minions while he is attacking. So that's pretty cool. And then Shatterstar is a 4-cost ally, 2 thwart, 2 consequential damage, and then 2 attack, 1 consequential damage. When Shatterstar attacks a minion, engage that minion. If you are already engaged with that minion, Shatterstar gets +1 attack for this attack. So just lots of stuff that helps you take out minions. Boom Boom. This is a 3-cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 consequential damage, 1 attack, 1 consequential damage. Action, exhaust Boom Boom, add 1 boom counter to her, and then you may discard 1 boom counter to deal 1 damage to each enemy for each boom counter on her. So she can do a little bit of extra damage there as well. And then an upgrade here for aggression. This is Now I'm Mad. Play under any player's control, max 1 per player. While hero's remaining hit points are less than half your hero's starting hit points, your hero gets +1 attack and -1 thwart. So making it so you're more attack heavy and less able to take care of schemes. But if you're playing aggression, maybe you're the person that's needing to take out bad guys anyway. So you have 3 of those. Then the direct approach. This is a 1-cost upgrade. Attached to a permanent side scheme, limit 1 per side scheme. And this one's pretty cool. Attach side scheme games assault, which is kind of like a new keyword here. Basic thwart against this scheme, use attack instead of thwarting. So this is really cool for aggression decks because it allows you to basically take out different side schemes using your attack instead of using your thwart, which can be huge, especially if your character's really good at attacking and terrible at thwarting. And so that helps you combo together with really aggressive characters, which is great in an aggression deck. Then Moment of Triumph. This is a 0-cost event. After you attack and defeat an enemy, heal 1 damage from your hero for each point of access damage dealt to that enemy for the attack. So if you're hitting somebody overkill, you're going to be able to heal yourself as well. Those are fine. Then Critical Hit. This is a 2-cost event. Play only if there's a side scheme in the victory display. And then also, after you attack an enemy, you stun it. So this is an event that allows you to just stun guys, but it's a little expensive. Hard to do, but it's pretty cool. Then Keep Them Busy. This is a player side scheme here. It costs 1 to put out. Assault. Basic thwart against this scheme. Use attack instead of thwart. And then the player who defeated this side scheme removes 5 threat per player. Threat from the main scheme. So this is basically you're able to attack this instead of thwarting it, and it's only 3 per player, but it's going to remove 5 per player from the main scheme, which could be really good in certain scenarios where if the threat gets really high on that main scheme. Then we have IPAC here. This is IPAC. I don't know how they pronounce it, but vehicle X-Force. Play only if your identity has the X-Force trait. Exhaust this and deal one face down encounter card to a player. That player draws 2 cards. So basically, getting terrible encounter cards to be able to draw extra cards to be able to hopefully combo more with this stuff on the current turn. Kind of cool. Then Endurance here. Play under any player's control, max 1 per player. This gives you +3 hit points. We've seen that several times before, but really awesome in a character that is damaging themselves. They might need that little extra hit point buffer. Then X Bumper, exhaust X Bunker, and choose a player whose identity has a mutant trait. That player searches the top X cards of their deck for a card where X is the number of side schemes in the victory display and adds that card to their hand. Then you shuffle this. So allowing you to get some more X-Men cards. And we do have our Strength and Energy and Genius like we normally do. And then there's an interesting side scheme here, player side scheme. This is Specialized Training. This is 1 cost. When defeated, each player who does not control a specialization upgrade chooses 1 specialization upgrade and puts it into play under their control. So this is the last card out of the actual deck. These cards actually aren't part of the deck. They're just kind of set off to the side, but you'll be able to get these and they'll be able to be in your control. So you have Combat Specialist, which gets +1 attack, and then after you resolve a basic attack, you can exhaust it to draw a card. You have Defense Specialist. After you get +1 defense. After your hero performs a basic defense, you get to draw a card. Then Frontline Specialist, you get +4 hit points after you take damage from an enemy. Exhaust this card and draw a card. And then you have Survival Specialist. This gives you +1 thwart. After you perform a basic thwart, you get to exhaust this and draw a card. Very much like the training, kind of like in the X-Men stuff. But yeah, this is a side scheme that allows you to do that. So this isn't actually part of the deck. This just triggers based off of this side scheme. So kind of cool little training thing there. And then, of course, I don't like to go too much into the bad cards for these things, but we do have Self-Isolation, making you lose your sister, and then Lady Deathstrike. So lots of cards there for whenever your nemesis comes out that you can play against. You can pause it if you want to read all of these, but I don't know. I like to be surprised when these things come out of the deck. And then we have her deck list card, and then some extra cards that you could add into your deck. Predictable Ploy, 2-cost event. Play this card if there's a side scheme in the victory display. When a treachery card is revealed from the encounter deck, cancel its when revealed effect. So that's cool for getting rid of the when revealed effects. And then another player side scheme here. Heal 2 damage from each ally. That could be cool if you're playing a leadership deck with lots of allies, but 3 per player. It's could be hard to pull off. Maybe, I don't know. Anticipated attack. Once there's a side scheme in the victory display. When the enemy initiates an attack, give your hero a tough status card. All these would be really good with Cable because he's so good at getting rid of those side schemes. But yeah, lots of stuff that they're still adding to the player side scheme pool and kind of making that a little bit more of an interesting meta there. But that is the cards in X23. My goodness, it's finally here. It's Deadpool. So yeah, let's go through this zaniness and see what's going on, which of course we start with Wade Wilson. This is 8 recovery. Holy smokes. I mean, it makes sense. With Deadpool, and of course he's a mercenary mutant. Break the 4th wall action. Discard a card from your hand, search your deck for a Deadpool event, and add it to your hand, limit once per phase. And then of course a lot of these cards are going to have all sorts of silliness on them, and lots of silly quotes and things like that on them as well, because it's Deadpool, and you know, that's what you get with Deadpool. And then kind of the most powerful stats I've seen here, 200 thwart, 200 attack, and 100 defense. But we do have the asterisk on them there, which says ignore these zeros. Yeah. So basically 2, 2, and 1. Then the regeneration, degenerate. Then as a force interrupt, when you would be defeated, instead set your hit points to 1 on the dial and change to alter ego form, and then add 1 acceleration to the main scheme. So basically, while you're in hero form, Deadpool can't actually die, which is extremely thematic for Deadpool, which I think is pretty cool. So we'll see how all these different cards work in here. Oh my goodness, this first card, I guess, will kind of show the flavor a little bit of what you're going to get for Deadpool. This is Arm to the Teeth upgrade. This is a 2-cost Arm to the Teeth response. After you play Arm to the Teeth, search your collection for 1 weapon upgrade from any aspect and attach it face down here. And as an action, you can exhaust Arm to the Teeth and swap the card attached here with a weapon upgrade you control. I guess if you wanted to min-max this, you could have a gigantic stack of all the weapons you control and be able to switch them in and out if you're able to get this card into play. But yeah, just a kind of silly thing there where you're able to go through your entire collection to be able to do stuff. Speaking of weapons, this is one of the weapons that he actually has here. This is a 2-cost upgrade, Deadpool's Katana. Restricted, exhaust Deadpool's Katana and take 1 damage to deal 2 damage to an enemy. This attack gains piercing, so you can hurt yourself to basically hurt the enemy a little bit there. Then a 1-cost upgrade, It Ain't Over. Attached to the main scheme, increase the target threat value of the attached main scheme by 2 for each acceleration token on it. So if you're using your ability here to add acceleration tokens, this will basically make it so that it's not as bad, you know. This card is Fire, and you can see the fire coming out of the edges of the card there. This is a 3-cost event. After your turn ends, if this card is in your hand, you take 1 damage. So you either have to discard this card for resources or play this card itself, you know, or take 1 damage, which doesn't seem like fun. And then as a hero action, deal X damage to an enemy, where X is the amount of damage you have sustained. So if you've taken a bunch of damage, which I should say you have 9 hit points with Deadpool as well, hand size 6, hand size 5, depending on which side you're on. But yeah, if you've taken an amount of damage, you can do damage to the enemy. And you get 2 of those. Then Yoo-hoo! As a 1-cost event, take any amount of damage from your remaining hit points to remove an equal amount of threat from a scheme. So you're basically able to damage yourself to remove threat, which is kind of interesting, especially with that recovery of 8, which I mentioned. You can heal up a ton and then utilize cards like Yoo-hoo and things like that to do crazy stuff. And then maximum effort. This is a 0-cost attack. Take any amount of damage from your remaining hit points and deal damage an equal amount of damage to the enemy. So you basically hurt yourself to be able to wreck the enemy, which is another thing which is pretty cool with having that recovery of 8, being able to heal you all the way back up once. You can be like, I'm going to do a bunch of damage with a 0-cost event. Could be really cool, even though you're wrecking yourself in the process. Then Chimichanga Truck. After an identity makes a basic recovery, exhaust Chimichanga Truck and ready that identity. So this is basically allowing you to do recoveries and pop back up. That's really awesome too. Then we have Meta Knowledge. This is a 1-cost event. When an encounter card is revealed, cancel its effect and discard it. Take 1 damage for each of the icons on that card. So hey, you're able to get rid of some different cards that come out there. Then Exhausting Personality. This is a 0-cost event. Place 1 acceleration token on the main scheme, stun and confuse the enemy. Then exhaust a player's identity. That player draws 1 card for each acceleration token on the main scheme. So if you've died a bunch of times or different things that have put those acceleration tokens on the main scheme, you're going to be able to draw a bunch of cards, which could be huge. Then Montage. This is a resource card. It generates 1 additional resource for each acceleration token on the main scheme to a maximum of 3. So if you get those acceleration tokens on there, then you're going to be able to draw extra cards. Then we also have Cable, which is apparently best bud. But he has 1 thwart with an asterisk there and 1 consequential damage, 2 attack with an asterisk, and 1 consequential damage. Then the asterisk is Cable gets +1 thwart and +1 attack for each acceleration token on the main scheme to a maximum of 3. So basically, if you have those acceleration tokens because of Deadpool, then you're going to be able to kind of utilize that. And then I should mention that this Deadpool deck is the pool aspect, which is a new aspect that you can use, which is completely different from the other aspects that are normally in the game. And yeah, so we'll see how all this stuff works. A lot of this stuff is going to be a little bit more jokey for all the Deadpool stuff. So the first one here is a 3-cost upgrade, Healing Factor. After the player phase begins, exhaust Healing Factor and heal 2 damage from your identity, which would be awesome with all of Deadpool's stuff that kind of like hurts himself. So you have 3 of those. And then you have 2 Get Good upgrades. Reduce the cost of Get Good by 2 if you did not win your previous game of Marvel Champions. So if you lost last time, this card will be free to play. When a player would be defeated, they set their hit point dial to 1 and change to alter ego form instead. Remove this card from the game. So that's a pretty cool game too, or pretty cool card too. Then we have Stick to the, and then here's a few cards that are kind of like remakes of other cards that you've seen in Marvel Champions, except they're Deadpoolized, where there's sticky tape on here and they're kind of rewritten, which makes sense with the theme of Deadpool, kind of like going with like the 4th wall breaking comic stuff. This is a 2-cost upgrade. Spend a fighting resource and exhaust this card to ready your hero. So normally it would be like discard this card, but hey, you're getting to exhaust this card to do that. Then Cut Upper. Then you can do a 3-cost event here. Deal 5 damage to an enemy and also stun that enemy. And it says squeak instead of smack. So max 1 per deck. And then we have Get Ready. This is a 0-cost event. Ready an ally. That ally gets +1 attack until the end of the phase. Nice. And it's, of course, making fun of all of the previous cards in the game. 0-cost event, it's not my responsibility. When any amount of threat would be placed on a scheme, you take damage instead. You or your allies take that damage instead. So it's kind of even interesting to read, because like, oh, there's tape over here and the arrows up here. You need to read this before that. But yeah, so making fun of the other cards that are in the game already. And then this is a 0-cost event, Barely a Scratch. When you would take any amount of damage from an attack, prevent 1 of that damage from the attack for each of these different icons in play. A lot of the pool aspect stuff is going to have to deal with these icons and kind of like figuring out like negative stuff is going to happen, but you're going to be able to get different benefits off of the different icons that normally are on bad cards. There's going to be a bunch of those icons on Deadpool cards. Then we also have I Got This as a 1-cost event. If the following icons, or if there's more, or one or more in play, you do these things. If it's the exclamation point, which means you can't attack or can't thwart the main scheme, you get to deal 3 damage. If there's an acceleration icon, you remove 2 threat from the scheme. If there's an extra boost icon, you ready an ally control. If there's an extra threat card icon, then you get to draw a card. But yeah, I know they have more official names than that, but I just remember them from what they do, not necessarily their names. And then Da Bomb. This is a 1 max per deck. This is a 6-cost event, so it's extremely expensive to play. Normally you can't even, your hand is 6, so if you have this in your hand, you'd have to have some sort of resource or something extra to play it, but it deals 10 damage to the villain and 1 damage to each enemy and hero for each of the icons in play. So you have to be careful when you play this because you could blow yourself up. But also, you're doing a massive amount of damage as well at the same time. And then Pool Inspection. This is a 6-cost event. Again, another extremely hard one to play. Remove 5 threat from the main scheme, ignoring the Crisis icon. So that's what the exclamation point is. Crisis icon. So you'd still be able to get through if you had cards that were stopping you from doing that. Remove 1 threat from each scheme in for each remove 1 extra threat from each scheme for each of the different icons in play. So you could do a ton of things if you had a ton of those icons in play. And let's take a look at the allies here. There's a bunch of different Deadpool allies that are in this deck. And an interesting thing to note about these is this ally costs 4, 2 thwart, 2 attack, but there's no consequential damage on here, so they're not going to die off if you use them. And then also, when defeated, defeat a non-elite minion, so that's another awesome thing. But you will notice that has a boost icon here, so it's going to make the bad guys even hit you even harder, scheme even harder. So while she's in play, that's bad for you, but you have her to be able to use as an ally for as long as you want until, you get her killed off in a different way. Kidpool, 3-cost ally, 1 thwart, 2 attack, no consequential damage. Kidpool attacks gain piercing, so that's awesome, but acceleration on the putting threat on the main scheme. Then Dogpool, this is a 3-cost ally, 0 thwart, 1 attack, no consequential damage, retaliate and toughness, so that's awesome. And then deal 1 damage to an enemy when he's defeated, but you have another acceleration on there. And then 3-cost ally, 2 thwart, 1 attack with an asterisk here. After a Headpool attacks and damages a minion, that minion attacks another enemy of your choice, and then it has a boost icon on there. So lots of allies with no consequential damage. Then we have several resources here for Deadpool. This one's Self-Control. This says double the number of resources this card generates if your identity has sustained less than 5 damage. Then it also triples the resource instead if you have sustained no damage, which you could really figure out ways to pull that off by making sure you're able to recover with Deadpool. So you actually have 3 different cards that do the same ability, but just with the different resource types. So Self-Preservation, Self-Confidence, and these are all great to have 3 resources on a card if you're healed all the way up. And then Live Dangerously. This card is crazy. So it's a 0-cost player side scheme. Identities get +2 hand size while this is in play. That's crazy. So you get to draw 2 extra cards, but it also gives you all of these icons. And then it takes 3 per player to get rid of it, but if you're playing it, you might not want to be getting rid of it, but it does have the Crisis icon on there, so you can't thwart the main scheme while this is in play. So Deadpool's out there singing and distracting you, making you draw lots of extra cards. I had a game where I played this as the first card of the game, and we played with it in play the whole time, and man, it was pretty crazy just drawing so many extra cards, especially if you're playing in a multiplayer game where everybody draws 2 extra cards. Wow. It can definitely make for a crazy game. And then we have Frenemies. This is a team-up card here with Cable and Deadpool. Deal 1 damage to each Cable and Deadpool. Remove 3 threat from a scheme and 3 threat from a different scheme. So basically just helping you with the schemes there. And then we do have the bad cards. I normally have the the other thing in here. Oh no, I'm gonna have to go get out my other deck. I will actually pull that out real quick. Okay, I made sure to grab the obligation out of the last villain that I played because this one's really interesting and extremely annoying. This is the Merc with the Mouth obligation that he has, and normally I don't read these out because I let people discover them, but this one's different, so I really kind of want to talk about it. This says exhaust each ally you control. Allies you control cannot ready. So the fact that Pool has so many of those allies that basically don't have any consequential damage, that's a huge part of this deck. And then after the player phase ends, if you have not talked this phase, discard this card. So this has ended up in very strange situations where I was playing Deadpool with a first-time player, and I drew this card, and I'm like, you know what? I have a bunch of allies in play. We're going to start this next round, and I'm not going to talk at all. And we might not have, it made for interesting opportunities where we didn't necessarily play optimally or didn't do this or that, or, oh, we missed a little bit of a thing, but just because I'm like, I just can't talk, so that way I can use my allies next round. But yeah, it's very interesting and very fourth wall breaking, but also extremely annoying, especially if the person you're playing with loves the fact that you've drawn this card and decides just to take as long as possible on their player turn, making it so you can't talk even more. Or you don't get to unexhaust your allies for another turn. And then, of course, you have all of your different Nemesis stuff here, lots of stuff in there as well. And then it also comes with a pool basically minion set, so you can play with all the different pools and go up against those guys. So you can have those added into other games with different villains that you're playing. And then I do think this is funny, the fact that the card here talks about how this is the best deck ever, and he has the greatest buds, and how would you ever want to change his deck? That's kind of funny. And then there's a whole bunch more pool cards here that are added into the game as well. If you want to use this pool aspect with other characters or even change up this Deadpool deck a little bit, we'll go through these real quick. Bob, the Agent of Hydra, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 2 hit points. After Bob, Agent of Hydra enters play, deal 2 damage to the enemy and remove 1 threat from the scheme. Basically the opposite of a regular Hydra agent, so I kind of love that. But he does have the thing there, but he doesn't have consequential damage, so you know. Negasonic Teenage Warhead. This is a 4-cost ally. When a treachery is revealed, deal 2 damage to Negasonic Teenage Warhead. You can cancel that treachery's when revealed effect, but she does cause you to draw extra cards in the first place. So, interesting. Panda Pool. This one's awesome. It's 4 cost with toughness, 4 hit points, makes you draw a bad card, but 3 attack with no consequential damage. What? Just let me be doing 3 attack, extra attack all day long with Panda Pool. This seems fun. Break Time. This is a 3-cost card, but any players, it's 3 per player basically. And as a group, you can kind of play it. Since it's an alliance card, you can all pay for this together. And this says, take a group break. Leave the table, read a comic book. When you come back to the game, heal 1 damage to each identity for every minute you're away from the game. So, yeah, you can just... This card lets you stop playing Marvel Champions. Cool. 1-cost event. Get in front of me. This is another one of those taped up decks. Because, get behind me, get in front of me, get it? When a treachery card is revealed from the encounter deck, cancel its when revealed effect. The villain attacks you instead. If an ally or another hero defends its attack, draw 1 card. So basically you're getting somebody else to do it. Then Mulligan, this is a 3-cost event. You cannot play this card if you have played any other cards this phase. Discard your hand and draw a new hand. Basically just getting rid of all of your hand and being able to start your turnover a little bit. Not really fully, but mulliganing. You can mulligan. That's cool. And then Deadpool Corpse Ship. This is a 1-cost support. Exhaust Deadpool Corpse Ship and deal yourself 1 face-down encounter card to put a pool ally into play from your hand. So you basically get to cheat a pool person in there, but you get a bad card as a result of that. That's kind of cool, though. 2-cost support. Plot Convenience. Attach 1 aspect card from your hand face down here to a maximum of 3. Add 1 attached card here to your hand. Any player may trigger this ability. So basically allowing you to trade cards with each other, which is kind of interesting as well. This is a 1-cost upgrade ambush. Attach your side scheme. Attached side scheme is defeated. Discard a non-elite minion. So allowing you to get rid of minions by defeating side schemes. That's kind of cool. Bazooka is a 2-cost upgrade. Discard Bazooka and deal 1 damage to an enemy for each of those icons in play. This attack gains ranged. So you have that as well. And then Distraction, attached to a non-elite minion, max 1 per minion. Attached minion cannot activate. So basically you make it so a minion doesn't activate at all, but then you can't even thwart the side scheme. So, lots of interesting things. This one's crazy. Laser Sword, 3-cost upgrade. This counts as 2 restricted cards, so you can only have this. Max 1 per deck. Your hero gets +1 attack for each of those icons to a maximum of 4. So if you had that side scheme where it gives you all the icons, and then you had this in play, you're going to get a ton of extra attack. So, got the Laser Swords. Then these cards are kind of crazy. These are the metagame cards. This is a 1-cost upgrade. Paper, Rock, Scissors. Exhaust this card and choose 1 card in your hand and discard the top card of your deck. Using the diagram above as a printed resource on the chosen card, points to the printed resource on the card. Add the discarded card to your hand. So annoying. So if you discard a card, then you can add a card to your hand, and like it's an upgrade, and you get to do this stuff. It's decently convoluted, but I don't know if good is what I'd call it. It's just interesting. Anyway, War, a 1-cost upgrade. Exhaust War, discard the top card of the encounter deck and take 1 damage for each of the boost icons on it in the boost icon area, and then discard the top card of your deck and deal damage to the enemy equal to the card's cost. So basically, you're hurting yourself to hurt the bad guy. I mean, I guess Deadpool can't die, but still, what? It's crazy. It's kind of funny. Tic-tac-toe. This one, you get to spend resources here, and then after you make a tic-tac-toe, you deal damage to them based off of all the cards here. So I guess you strategically try to play discard cards that don't do a tic-tac-toe, so that way when you do it, you can do a bunch of damage to them. But you also heal people when you do it because you're taking damage tokens off. Another weird card. And then Blackout. This is a 0-cost upgrade. Spend resource of the matching type to move 1 threat from a scheme to an empty space above that matches the spent resource. If all spaces above are filled, discard this card and confuse an enemy. So, you can spend resources to take cards off, which, if you have ways to spend resources that aren't necessarily discarding cards, this is another way to take threat off stuff. This is a way to do damage. This is a way to do damage and do damage to yourself. And this is a way to, I guess, draw cards. Interesting. But yeah, that is all the stuff here in the Deadpool deck. Let's take a look at what we think.
All right, so these are 2 very different characters, I think,
Big time.
overall. I guess we'll start with X23 just because she's going to be more of the normal type character. She really has a lot of stuff that, she feels a little bit like Wolverine, which makes sense.
Right.
She deals damage to herself to be able to do extra attack. She also has a really cool ability where she unexhausts every time she takes damage. Well, once per round when she takes damage, which we learned is really good for defending and attacking.
Yes.
She's able to pop back up. So
and she can hit hard, and she can heal a lot.
Yeah.
Now, getting that good balance, because you want to get that hand that has both of them in it when you need it. But it seems like a lot of times when you're trying to attack, you just have a handful of heal cards.
Yeah.
And you're like, oof. But then when that attack lands, I mean, you were doing 18, 20 points of damage.
My favorite aspect is aggression, and the fact that she has aggression and she has just a ton of stuff that does damage. I really enjoy things too that allow you to unexhaust and exhaust your character. It's just really cool to see how she can pop back up, hit, do this thing, get bonuses, pop back up again, hit again, use Honey Badger. Honey Badger takes consequential damage, pop back up, hit again. It's just really cool to see those combos that are just kind of very natural with her character, I guess.
It is. Yeah, it's a give and take. I like that a lot. She's very well balanced, and again, it's hard.
Yeah, I think she's going to be way better at doing damage than thwarting in general. But, she has her normal thwart cards in there, some stuff where she can, add her attack to be able to do stuff. And I really enjoyed the new, the assault ability there on her side scheme, where you can basically attack it to be able to basically get rid of the thwart off of it. That's pretty cool.
I like that a lot.
Next, let's break the fourth wall here with the Deadpool. Deadpool is so different. He is a crazy character. I feel like so many games do Deadpool almost the same way, right?
They really do.
You're going to break fourth wall. You're going to do different stuff. Well, actually, when I was talking to the designers of this, I was like, was this going to be an April 1st announcement? And you guys just announced it later? Because it seems like the perfect thing for them to do. And they're like, that was the original plan. It was supposed to be talked about, we're doing Deadpool April 1st and do a little spoiler of it. But no, it's very much that sort of thing of something you would get as a joke almost. Kind of like Spider-Ham-ish,
Yeah.
Spider-Ham has a little bit of you have to fist bump somebody to do this or do that to do this. I will say that his obligation, which I normally don't talk about the bad guy cards or the obligations that much. The obligation of this one makes it so you can't talk for the entire player phase, or else you're not going to be able to unexhaust your allies. That hit me twice.
Yes.
It hit me in the other game that I played, and it hit me in the game with Joey. And some people like to decide to take extra long on the turns when I'm not allowed to talk.
It's fantastic. Like, well, let me just double check to make sure I don't want to do anything else.
And we did get, we put the threat on the villain to start the villain phase, and then Joey realized he hadn't drawn up his hand. So technically we weren't out of the player phase yet, and I talked. If you had the wrong person playing with Deadpool or playing with or against Deadpool, you could make it really annoying.
You really could. But as far as how he plays, you really have to be okay damaging yourself. And some people cannot do that.
Both these characters.
Yeah, that's the thing. But he doesn't really, he barely bounces back. He stays alive.
Yes.
Right, you can't kill him.
Yeah, basically, that's one of the cool things about this character that I think is very unique as far as like making it feel like the character is like, you can't kill Deadpool. When you kill him, you're going to add more threat to the scheme, which could make you lose the game. Not threat, but the acceleration token.
Right. It's like you don't kill the game, but you pretty much kill your chances to win.
Yeah.
Because there are times where I think Roy killed until like 2 or 3 times. We're like, woof. Not really sure if this is winnable at this point.
I was trying to combo because I'm like, oh, X23 will be able to do tons of damage. Let me combo and put a whole bunch of acceleration tokens on here because we're going to win the game this round anyway. We didn't win the game that round.
We did not.
And you had to completely pivot to be like, well, now let me deal with the threat problem that Deadpool caused.
Yes. And that's the thing. He causes so many things. By getting those icons out there, he can work off the icons, but everyone else at the table is getting hosed. And it's like you really just... You've got to win quick or he's just going to lose it.
He has really cool stuff. Like he can just damage himself to do a ton of damage to the villain. He can damage himself to remove a ton of threat, which is very interesting with the fact that he heals for so much. He has a recovery of 8, which is ridiculous.
Which if he's at 1, that's full health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of crazy that just all the stuff that he has together, there's so many, like there's a card in there that like if you have it in your hand at the beginning of the player phase or at the end of the player phase or something like that, then you take damage for having it in your hand. Just weird stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just like, and then he also has like the bomb card where he just straight up
10 damage.
10 damage.
Yeah.
It's hard to play that card because you need more than normal starting hands would have. So you have to have an extra resource or have cards like Living Dangerously that allows you to draw extra cards, which that card in itself is just bonkers.
Right.
But there's so many things where he just adds tons and tons of icons that screw up everything for the heroes, but then he plays off of that stuff and tries to mitigate it a little bit.
I mean, it's very thematic for him who, when he's thrown into a fight, he just goes scorched earth. And that's why nobody wants to actually be on his team in the comics.
It's interesting because they found a way to make it thematic.
They did.
It is annoying, but they found a way to make it thematic, which the deck being annoying fits the theme.
It really does, because you really start hating that Deadpool player. You're like, and then when they finally have to just shut up for a round, you're like, this is great.
Another thing that I wanted to mention is that it comes with the whole pool aspect. So there's a bunch of extra cards in here. There's also a like Nemesis set that's pool characters. You have a bunch of like Deadpool themed stuff. This is like an extra fat like pack than a normal hero pack would be. So you have a bunch of extra cards. So if you wanted to make other characters into pool characters with fourth wall breaking stuff, you could.
Which is cool.
I don't know that your friends would want you to.
No.
I wouldn't want you to. But it is cool to see that you could mix Deadpool up a lot more than you could normally mix a deck up.
Right.
And one thing that I didn't even show you in here is that normally they have these cards in here that like show like the deck list. Like Deadpool's is like all written up on here being like, why would you change this deck? This is the best deck in the world. And like it's like got things circled like, oh, this guy's a loser, and oh, I hate this guy, and oh, this is my best friend, and oh, this is my crew. It's just kind of cute the way that they've done it all together for everything.
It almost reminds me of the Unmatched one in the fact that it's entertaining just to look through the cards and see what he wrote on those.
Right.
Which I enjoy a lot.
Awesome. Well, I guess we should get down to our scores on these things. You want to do yours first this time, Joey?
I'll do mine first. It's funny how Deadpool... I love the comic. I love everything about it. But as far as I look at how many times I'm going to play this, I enjoyed the plays with it. But if I'm having a serious game of Marvel Champions, I don't know if I'd grab him.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. I think I'm coming down with him at a 7. I like it. I like the idea of it. But I don't know how often it's going to the table, which is really true with most Deadpool characters across the genre, I think. Now, on the other hand, X23, I really like the balance of hitting hard and healing fast. Those two things... That's huge. So with her, I'm coming in at 8.5 because I really like, she can just really wreck it and heal and get that synergy going. So I really like her a lot.
I think I'm in the same boat as you. I taught someone Marvel Champions for the first time.
Not using Deadpool.
And I wanted to play either Deadpool or X23. He wanted to play Cable. He's like, well, you have to play Deadpool. I was like, okay, listen. I'm like, we're playing Marvel Champions, but this is not normally the way the game is going to go. Deadpool is silly. Marvel Champions is not normally silly like this. It was an interesting thing to show someone the game while having Deadpool in the game. But I think I'm right with you with a 7 for Deadpool. I mean, I still think it's approved. I still think it's fun and a deck that I totally am excited about owning, but it's not something I'm going to bring back to the table a ton. It will be something that'll be fun for like a lark, and it's really cool to look through all the cards and play with everything.
I agree.
And it's just wacky. It's just wacky. X23, I'm going out with a 9. Like, this is the kind of character I love playing. Like, I love fast damage. I mean, Wolverine is one of my favorite characters just because how fast he does damage and all that stuff. X23 is right there along with it. I just love how much you unexhaust yourself and the combos that you can build with all that stuff. So yeah, this is the kind of character I love playing, and she's just fun. It's just thematic. She feels like Wolverine's daughter. I mean, it makes sense, you know? So yeah, a 9 for me. But yeah, that has been our review of X23 and Deadpool. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm Joey Evans.
We're going to go get some chimichangas.
Oh, I would totally kill those.